I was born in Southwick, like the individual counties. I was born on the north side of the River Wear, because the River Wear ran right through the town. I can remember I was only 2 years old, and I walked all the way over Alexander Bridge and then walked back to my grandmother's. I can remember that. And I used to also walk away from home, and my mother used to say, "Now don't you walk away." And so I'd walk away and follow a man. Next thing you know, I'd end up in the police station. And then they'd give me food and ice cream and stuff like that. And then she used to go over and pick me up the phone and tell her that your son's here. And that's when I was 2 years of age. That's the earliest I can remember. When I got older to go to school, I moved to 1 Cromwell Street. And right across from 1 Cromwell Street was a pub, and they called it the Mountain Daisy. And I used to go over there sometimes, and I used to see the people coming out, and I'd ask them, "Have you got a penny? Have you got an halfpenny?" An halfpenny is a half a penny. And in 1937, I hit a jackpot, because that was the year that Sunderland football team won the cup down in London. So King and Queen were there to present the cup to Rachel Carter. He was the captain of the team. And at that time, the night time came, and the guys that were in the pub were kind of boozing it up. And I was there, just looking. I said, "Have you got a penny, mister?" "Sure," he said. And he said to the other guys, "Give the kid here a penny." And I ended up with 12 pennies. So that was something for me. Whoa, that's rich. 12 pennies. And then I took it home, and my mother said, "Oh, you better give it to me now. I don't want you to lose it. And we'll go down to the seaside on the weekend, and you can share it with your sister and your sisters." And I said, "Yeah, well, I did all the work." So anyhow, I was kind of disappointed in a way. Like, I thought, well, that's mine. But anyhow, it's nice to share. 1939, and the war broke out. So my mother asked me if I wanted to be evacuated into the country. And I said, yes, I'll give it a try. So what happened there is we got on the bus from the school, and then we all went down to a city called York in Yorkshire. And from there, you were billeted out. And if the person that was taking you in, if they wanted 2 people, 1, and it happened to be that this person just wanted 1 child, because they had 1 child themselves, and he was about the same age. He was the same age as I was, Frank. And so I went with them, and I stayed there from I was 9 years old, and then I came back to Sunderland before the war was over, and I was 11 and a half when I came back, because my mother came down once to see me while I was down there. So I came back, and the war was still on. And one night, when the Germans came over to bomb the city of Sunderland, there was a big incendiary bomb, like what they call, it's a fire bomb. No, if it had been a big bomb, I wouldn't be here today telling you this. But this was a fire bomb, and it came right through the roof and bounced down the stairs and set the floor on fire. And my grandfather had to go down, in which the law was you had to have a bucket of water and a bag of sand always in your house ready, just in case. So he put the water and the sand on the bomb, and then we went downstairs and then back in the backyard and went into the air raid shelter. I wanted to get up on the top, which I did, and looking at the downtown and watching the bomb, the fires and going. And then my grandmother said, "Get down here and get in this shelter." So I go, "Oh, come on." And nothing like, "No, come on." So I had to do it, I was told, so we went to the air raid shelter. It used to be what you call an air raid warden, and if he could see a light, he'd come and knock at your door and say, because you see, when the planes came over, and the Germans in the planes, the pilot would say, "Okay, this is it, there's the city, drop your bombs." And then to get trying to bomb the shipyards, you see, in the ships. And that was, but black as coal at nighttime. After the war was over, and I finished school at 14, and another buddy of mine, Billy Curry, he went first. He went down the coal mine. So he said, "Come on down the coal mine, you get more money." So that's where I went. I went down the coal mine, and I was there for a year and a half. And I was just going to go down into the coal mine on the cage, which a cage lets you down. And the man at the lighthouse with the lamp, you had to have a lamp. He said, "Are you going to go to Canada one day?" And I said, "Yes." Well, he said, "We've got a phone call and you've got to go home and you're going to go to Canada." I flew out from Prestwick and landed in Newfoundland, let some people off, and then from Newfoundland to Montreal. From Montreal, I got the train down here to Oshawa, and my uncle, George, he was there to meet me. And he came here to Canada first, like when he was 17. And that was in 1931, he came here. And he worked for a farmer just outside of Sunderland. So when he rode back to his mother, he put on Sunderland, Ontario, of Canada. And she said, "Oh, the poor Ben, he still thinks he's in Sunderland, England." And no, she didn't know, you see, that he had a job, and that's where he ended up. And I came up to the farm, and then we went to work on the farm. We had horses then, no tractors, just the horses, and no electricity. We had the coal lamp, light the wicks and stuff like that on the wick, and the outside toilet was outside. You had to go outside. There was no running water. You had to bring your bucket of water in from the well, and then when you had a bath at night, you had to go and get a couple of buckets of water, and you had a bath once a week on a Saturday night, and washed yourself off, and one thing another, had a bath then. And it was always no say oil or gas. It was wooden stoves, all wooden stoves, and you had to cook on the wooden stove and everything else keep warm through the night. That's it. And of course, when it went out, and first person up in the morning lit the fire, get it ready. Well, the entertainment was more or less at church. They had, like you could go to church and they played games like crokinole and cards. Not so much cards, because it was against, taboo, religious. You not play euchre at cards. After it would be down at the Orange Lodge where you played cards, but not so much at the church. But other games, we played checkers, chess. Well, that's what we did for entertainment when we were teenagers. And then, as time went on, then I got a car. A 34 Ford. No, I asked my uncle, I said, "Who's that young girl over there sitting to our left?" He said, "That's Jean Miller, And her father's a lawn miller. Oh yeah. I said, where does she live? Just up around the corner. He said, you got to just go up and then along. I said, and that's where she lives. I said, okay. And then I've got just have to talk, you know, just all at that time. And talk to each other and go to the young people's.
I was born at my grandmother's. She lived over at Manila, Grandma Wright. And then my parents lived a mile north here on the farm, the Miller farm, Evergreen Lane. And it was in the family for 150 years in 1999. It's still in the family. It was simple and easy. We had to do some gardening once in a while, and otherwise we just played until we got older, and then we helped with the harvest, and that was pretty hard. I have a brother, Bill. He's a year and a half older than I am. And Richard is, he was born in 1935. And Elizabeth was born in 1939, and Ken was born in 1948. My grandparents lived there too. We had the back part of the house, and they had the front part of the house, so it was sort of interesting, you know, like it was, they did things with us too, because they were still young enough to check us up sometimes. I went to Vrominton School, grade 1 to 8. I started there when I was 5, almost 6. And I had, my mom had made me 3 dresses, and I had a hard time figuring out which one I wanted to wear the first day of school. So I really loved school and the teachers and everything. I enjoyed going to school. It was fun, and then we skated on the pond at Vrominton in the winter. We went from the school over, and when we came in from noon hour, the teacher always read us a chapter from our book, you know, she was reading a novel or something, and she always read us a chapter so we could put our heads down and rest, and that was fun. And they did the Christmas concerts, and so we had to do lots of practicing for that. And then I went to Sunderland High School after I finished Vrominton. No, first of all, I went to grade 8 at Ricky's School, which is up the North Road here. We did a gardening club when I was about 12. And then we did, my brothers and I, we had baby beef calves, and we raised them all summer, and then took them to the Beaverton Fair. And if they were good enough, then we went to the Royal Winter Fair. So I went to the Royal Winter Fair once with my baby beef calf. We had some dances at the school, and we always used to go to them. My brothers, we didn't have school buses then, so we had to provide your own transportation. So we had this car, I think it was a 1926 or 28 Chev, and we painted it yellow, so it was all bright yellow, and called it the Yellow Taxi. And my brother used to drive it mostly, but we had a few other kids that went with us from around up there, the neighborhood. And then we drove that to school for I guess just about the 4 years, must have, because we didn't have any other reliable transportation. I mean, my dad could have taken us and gone home, but this was better. And so we used that car for going to the school and going to dances, skating. I played hockey too on the Sunderland hockey team. We went skating every chance we got. Otherwise, when we got old enough, we went to the Ronnie Verne up at Port Bolster, or another one at on the way to Beaverton. We used to go there, where everybody went on Saturday night. Our teacher was Miss Waddy, great teacher. That was in our home room, but we did everything, like we learned everything from architecture to mathematics to French to radio broadcasting, cooking, sewing. We didn't call it sewing. The first year, when I started, I lived with a lady, and she took in 2 girls, myself and another girl, in an apartment. And then I moved in with 2 of the girls in my class in the first year, and we lived in an apartment, like rooming house, the 3 of us together, and that was quite interesting because we did all our jobs, you know, like cooking, laundry, cleaning. We had to do all our jobs. And then the second year I lived over on St. George Street in a girls' residence, I guess. I guess it was an old house and it was changed into a girls' residence. I lived there for a while. And then we had the house at the school where we went for a month, 6 weeks, something like that, and did all the stuff we're supposed to know how to do, like laundry and cooking and all that stuff, entertaining. And so we entertained the guys. Derek was in the city then, so we entertained guys to dinner and entertainment. Well, we met at the church, and then, like my brothers, he was about the age of my older brother, and nobody, like a lot of people, didn't have a car, and you lived out in the country, and you sort of got into a group and went places if you wanted to go to the show, or there was one in Cannington or Beaverton, and you could go get together and go to the show. So I guess it's sort of we just always were together with our brothers, whoever. So that's how when I was in second year at Ryerson, we got engaged. And then after I graduated, I went to Oshawa, and I worked at the Oshawa General Hospital in the dietary, and where you make out the menus and all that kind of stuff for people that need special menus. And I was there for a while. Derek was in the city then, and I was in Oshawa, so I decided to go back to the city, and I worked at the East General. And then we got married the next spring, May the 9th, 1953. My mom made all the dresses for the wedding. She made my dress. It was white with a lace jacket and a little thing for my hair of the lace too. And then I wore her wedding veil, my mom's. And she made the bridesmaids' dresses too. One was green, one was like pale green, pale yellow, and pale mauve, all floor length. And so she did all of those, like poor mom. And you can tell.
Yeah, and Harold St. John was my best man. We were buddies. And I was best man at his wedding. After 2 weeks later, he got married. So I was best man at his wedding. And we had my cousin George and David were there as ushers.
We didn't have a big wedding. We had 30 people at the reception, and they were all family and close friends, and we had it in the church.
In the basement?
Yeah, and it cost $30 for the reception. And I had a beautiful, beautiful wedding cake that this chef at the hospital, East General Hospital, made for me. And I think it was $30. And it was tall and beautiful and had little doves on it that he made himself and everything. It was beautiful. But I didn't get a picture of it. And then the people who were taking the pictures, they didn't do very well with pictures. So unfortunately, didn't have that. What else happened at the wedding? And then we went back to our farm, back to the farm. And we didn't have a car, so we borrowed my dad's car to go on our honeymoon. And we went to Niagara Falls. And
went to Toronto first.
Yeah.
We stayed at the motel in Toronto first, and then the next day we went to Niagara Falls, and then we stayed there. Next day after that, we traveled east back to Gananoque. We went across to the States, went down to Syracuse, and into New York, Albany and then New York. And we went by the Empire State Building down there, and it was kind of
wrong way on a one-way street.
Yes, and we went down, and it, all of a sudden I see all these cars, 4 of them abreast, all coming at us, and then we had to make a fast right turn. Look out, here they come, just like a cavalry charge. So we turned, and then we started to go back out of New York, and we stayed out there in the suburbs and making our way back all the way to Buffalo, and then back to Niagara Falls again. And then we traveled back home after 2 weeks.
We had found a place to live, so my mom and dad went shopping with us, and we got a pull-out couch and a chest of drawers and a table and 4 chairs, right?
Yes.
So that's what we had in our first apartment. It was
2
like
rooms
2 rooms.
upstairs. They had a daughter, and the daughter's name, they called her Peanut. Why, I don't know, but Peanut.
We moved out of there in October 1954, and that was, we moved on the day of Hurricane Hazel. So we had to go over the Humber Bridge because we were going over to the West End. We had an apartment over there. Well, the lady, where we stayed, she wasn't looking forward to a baby anyway. So it's time to move. We had Randy, then in April 4th, 1955, and we lived in the apartment then until 1956, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved back out here. Derek got a job at General Motors. So he was working at Loblaws. Then he got a job at General Motors, and we lived on the farm for 2.5 years.
While we were building this house here, we started to build this house. We bought half of the property. Jean's brother owned this property at the time, and he said it was too big for him to look after. So we said, okay, we will buy half of the property from you. So we said, how much do you want for it? They said $100. So we bought it for $100. And it's 100 feet wide and 210 feet back. And then
when Derek wasn't at General Motors working, he was here working on the house. Okay. He laid all the blocks.
And Jean also helped on the roof and put the roofing on and stuff like that, and the wood. We got the wood from Toronto, a lot of the beams, and that from, what was the name of that? Tipperman's. And they sold lumber, tearing down houses and buildings, and then selling the lumber. Mind you, it's good lumber because it was the old, virgin lumber, that them days.
And the rest of it we got from my dad.
Yep, from the farm.
And I helped him cut some more lumber to replace that one winter when we were living up there. We started it in May, and we moved in July. We started in May of 1956, and we moved in July 12th of 1958. And when we moved in, we had 3 children. So in the meantime, while we're at the farm, we had Stephen in 1957, April 6th, and Kathryn, May the 21st, 1958. So the air out in the country is very good, or something. We had a lot of fun when we had kids. We had a huge sandbox down there under that big tree, and when everybody got old enough, the whole village was in the sandbox. It must have been 12 feet long and 6 feet wide or something. And then we had a round swimming pool. It wasn't very big, but it was filled with children. There's some pictures of those times. And then we had maple trees out here at the front, and when it was hot in the summer, sometimes the neighbor women came, and we sat under the trees and on the ground and chatted and stuff like that. And we've had really nice neighbors.
Yeah. And we had fun making snowmen and in the winter time, and sleigh riding down the hill here, because we used to own the property right next to us.
Right here.
Down in the field. We bought that. And we had lots of fun.
The kids had fun there too when they were teenagers. They made this huge snowman, and they were all out there sitting around. And I knew where they were a lot of the time because they were fixing motorcycles in the backyard or playing in the field, or I guess some of the time I didn't know where they were, but so they tell me now. And we did have some sickness.
Yes. I had a heart operation, open heart operation in
4 years ago.
2012. And I survived that, but they thought I was going to die, but I came through. And they said, "Oh, you're a miracle man." That's what the doctor said. "You're a miracle man. I thought we lost you." Oh. I can remember after with the operation, and then I was lying in bed, and the doctor said, "Derek, can you hear me?" I said, "Yes." "Squeeze my fingers." I squeezed her fingers. "Okay, now open your eyes." I opened my eyes, and she said, "Well, at least you're with us now." So So I had to get over that and then go to rehab after down in Port Perry. And then Jean, of course, she had her, you can tell your troubles.
I had 2 abdominal surgeries, a piece taken out of my bowel, and that was 5 years ago. And then the next year, of course, they had to clean up and do hernia repair and stuff, because it was two huge operations. And then last year I had my hip replaced. Everybody's very busy. They don't really have time. I said, well, gee, I'm sorry, Grandma, I didn't have time, you know, but they're all very precious to us.
Yes, we love them all.
Yeah, they're great.
And one of the times is when we got married, and it's getting married, it's a, you know, you know you're going to either make it or not make it, but I mean, that's a special time. And your firstborn child, Randy, and that's another time that you have to think, well, everything goes well, and and everything goes well with the rest of your family when you've been, because being born, it's touch and go sometimes with children. And we're lucky that everybody has made it this far, and I don't want to outlive them. That's another thing. Our 60th anniversary, this May the 9th coming, it'll be 63 years that we've been married.
Like no fist flying or anything like that.
Just like I said.
No leaving the house.
Keep calm and carry on.